In today's video, you're going to learn how to create a composite on Photoshop. So we're going to take a bunch of different images with different lightings and different color balances, and we're going to blend them all together. So by the end of the tutorial, you'll have an image that will look like this. So all the images that we'll use in today's tutorial will be in the description below. So we've got the forest image, a woman taking a photo, and two fish images. And we've also got some brushes that we'll be using. They'll also be in the description below. So if you like these types of videos, make sure you hit that like button and also subscribe and hit the notification bell if you haven't already. If you have any questions about any of the steps that we're about to take, make sure you comment down below. You can also comment down below with any other video requests on Photoshop. So let's get started. So we're going to start by setting up Photoshop with all of the images that we're going to work with. So click on the forest image in the description below and you'll be brought to this page here. And we're going to right click and copy the image. And let's go into Photoshop and click on Create New. You can also go File and click on Create New. And Photoshop should automatically pick up the width and the height of the image, but if it doesn't, just put in 1000 pixels by 1500 pixels. Leave the resolution at 72 pixels per inch, the color mode on RGB and 8-bit, and the background to be white. And don't worry about the advanced options, just leave that as it is. So click on Create, and then we're going to paste in the image. So I'm going to press Ctrl V or Command V if you're on a Mac. You can also go Edit and click on Paste. So we're going to be working with layers quite a bit in this video. So if you don't see this layers panel, just go to Windows and click on Layers right here. So let's also paste in all of the other images that we're going to work with. So let's go back to the other links in the description, which is the image of the woman taking a photo. So let's right click and copy that image. And I'm again simply just going to paste in that image. Let's go to the next two images of the red fish. So it's this one right here. Let's copy that, paste this one in as well. And the last one, which is this one right here, copy the image and let's place it in. So I'm going to rename all of these layers. So it's a lot easier to go through these layers when you actually name them properly. So I'm just going to name this forest. So if you want to rename it, you simply just double click on the layer and you can rename it. And let's take this, name this woman taking photo. And I'll just rename this to fish 1 and fish 2. So now we have all of the layers named, we have all of the images that we're going to work with, and now it's time to start cropping some of these images and editing all of them together. So we're going to start by cropping the first image, which is fish 2. So we're going to hide the rest of the layers, so just click on this little eye image and it will just hide all of the images except for fish 2. So we're going to move this just to the center of the canvas. And let's resize it so it just fits in. So I'm going to press Ctrl T or Command T and you'll get all of these controls here. And just click on one of them and just resize it. So I'm just going to resize it so it just fits in. Then we'll resize it again so it actually fits inside the image. So we're going to crop this using a tool called Select and Mask. So make sure you're on the fish 2 layer and go to Select and then go down to Select and Mask. So this might look a bit weird depending on what kind of background you have. So if you chose a different background other than a white background, then you might see a different color. But it doesn't really matter as long as you can actually see the fish just slightly with an opacity like this. So first thing is we're going to go up here and click on this right here, this little tool. They don't really have a name for it, just this little icon right here. And then click on Select Subject. So this is a new tool in Photoshop where it actually recognizes what the subject of an image is. And it just crops out the background but keeps the subject. So that's like an AI tool within Photoshop. So this is a new tool and it saves a lot of time. And before we actually had to like go through and actually crop out the outline, and it was a tedious task, but now you can just do it instantly. So it's called Select Subject. But you can actually take this further. So if I zoom in, you can see right here, these should be kind of transparent. So I don't want to see the black background right there. So for this, we're going to use this tool right here. It's like a little tool and it's kind of rubbing out right there. It's below, it's actually called the Refined Edge Brush tool. So I actually didn't know there was a name for it. So it's called Refine Edge Brush Tool. So click on that, and we're gonna simply just rub it out. So see how easy that is? It's simply gonna recognize the background, and we're just gonna rub it out. So there's two options right here. There's Object Aware, and what the Object Aware does is it just I can kind of draw like a black outline like this, and it's going to recognize whatever is the background, and it's going to get rid of it. The Object Aware tool is you can kind of instantly see what you're working with. So I'm going to click on Proceed again, and you can kind of instantly see what you're working with. I prefer Object Aware. So let's just zoom out a little bit more, and we're going to do that to this entire edge right here. So let's choose Refine Brush Tool, and I'm going to make the brush a little bit bigger. So maybe about that size there. And you can also adjust the hardness of the brush. So I'm going to make the hardness about 17%. So it doesn't really matter too much as long as it's not above 50%, as long as it's not too hard. So let's just do that all the way through right here along these edges, and watch what happens. So it's that simple. So these edges look much better now. So maybe along there. So it's just those edges look pretty good. But this right here, so let me just zoom in. So this is it's being rubbed out a bit too much around here. So what you can do now with this is, so what's this tool called? So that name for that tool isn't coming up, but this tool, this is just called the brush tool. So this tool just simply brings back some of the things that you rubbed out. So make sure it's on Object Aware again. And I'm going to make the brush smaller again, and also make sure the brush hardness is at 0%. So let me show you what it looks like when it's at 100%. So I'll just make the brush smaller, and you can see how hard the edge of the brush is. So it's a bit too hard. So let me just undo that by pressing Ctrl Z or Command Z if you're on a Mac. And let's make the brush hardness 0. And now you can see it's much better. So the edge is like much more softer. So now you can kind of get back some of the things that if you rubbed it out too much. And if you revealed a bit too much again, you can go back to the other tool, and it just kind of gets rid of those edges again. So you kind of have to keep playing around with this until you just get it right. And again, maybe we need to make the hardness of the brush a bit more around these edges, so we can just get those feathers right there. So that looks good. And maybe around here, we can just try this out. And maybe that's a bit too much. So I was just looking at the black over here, and that actually doesn't look too bad. Maybe we just need to make the brush a little bit smaller. So let's make it a little bit smaller around here. And there we go. I think that looks alright. But let's just get rid of this right here. So that looks a bit, there we go. And let's also get rid of this. And let's zoom out. So actually it doesn't look too bad, but I actually prefer it with the black background there. So I'm gonna bring all of that back. And let's also make the hardness of the brush a bit more and a bit light. And let's make the brush a bit bigger so it actually kind of fades into it. So I think that looks much better now. So let's zoom out and see what this looks like. So I think that looks really good now. So now what you need to do is click on OK right here. And it just makes a selection of everything that we just cropped. So it hasn't cropped it yet, but it just made a selection. So now what we're going to do is click on the masking tool right here. So the masking tool is a little circle and a square icon right below the layers panel. And what the masking tool does is it just simply hides the background and it keeps whatever we selected. So right now it's a selection of the subject with those edges that we edited out. If we delete the background and if we make a mistake, we can't go back to it. But if we just simply hide it and we make a mistake, we can actually go back to it. So that's why the masking tool is better instead of just deleting it. So if you just click on the masking tool, it simply just hides the background. So now if I bring back the forest image, you can see the edges look much better. It actually kind of blends in. But don't worry about the lighting for now. We'll change up the lighting and stuff later on and the colors. But I just want to make sure the edges and stuff kind of blends in with the image. So that looks good. Now let's go to the fish 1 image, and let's push this here. And we're going to do the same thing. And let's see if you can actually do this by yourself this time. So I'm going to speed up the video and I'm just going to quickly do this and see if you can actually crop this image out by yourself. So now I've just cropped out the second image and I hope it went well for you. If it didn't, just rewind this video back and just watch it over again, and feel free to pause anytime at this during this tutorial and actually do this properly. It's better to actually not just watch me do it, but actually copy exactly what I do, and then when you start doing it, that's when you start learning as well. So now we've got two really nice cropped out images. And now we also need to crop out this image. So let's go into select and go to select and mask. Oh, and I also need to select that layer. So let's go into select and mask, and I'm just going to do the same thing, but sometimes it doesn't actually recognize what the subject of the image is. So I'm going to go to this quick selection tool and click on select subject. Oh, so this time it actually did recognize it. So you can see over here there are some edges that we need to get rid of, and some of these edges look quite rough right there. And it's also oops, let me just undo that. And also the hairs actually come out really nice. So Photoshop can actually recognize what the hair is, and the hair actually looks really nice. But sometimes it actually recognizes the tree or something as part of the subject, so it's not always intelligent. So you need to kind of if it does make a mistake, then you need to use the brush tool to kind of get rid of some of the subjects, just like what we need to do right here at the bottom. So I'm going to choose the brush tool again and simply just get rid of these edges right here. Oops, let me choose the other tool. So it should be a refine brush tool. So let's just get rid of all of these edges right here. So none of this should be here. So you can see it's selecting this part here. So we need to kind of manually adjust that part right here. So we'll do that later on, but let's just get kind of refine all of these edges here. That looks okay. I'm actually might lean this woman towards like another tree and on the image. So that actually might look good. So it actually might kind of blend in. So I might leave that as it is. Let's also do that right here as well. And these parts right here shouldn't be here. There we go. So I'll just leave that as it is. And this is the type of image where it does need a lot of manual adjustment. So you need to kind of do it the normal way that we would do it before. So let's click on OK. And let's click on mask right here. And let's get rid of this right here. So for this, you might notice there's two boxes right here. There's the normal image box in the layer. And then there's this other box with a black and white image. So if I press Alt or the Option key on the Mac and click on that box, you'll see this. So anything that's white is revealed, and anything that's black is hidden, and anything that's gray is slightly revealed. And the darker the gray, the less it's revealed. The lighter the gray, the more it's revealed. So that's why you can see these little blended spots right here. So we can choose any type of gray or any type of black background that we need to kind of make adjustments here. So what I'm going to do is just choose the brush tool and make the hardness to be at 100%. Choose black color and just get rid of all of this right here because we don't need this. Let's get rid of all of that. And also choose a white color and reveal all of this right here. And maybe we'll also get rid of all of this little edge right here. Let's see what's up here. So all of that doesn't look too bad. So let's zoom out. And now if you press Option or Alt again and click back, now you have this. And I didn't notice right here, we actually need to get rid of this part right here as well. So what I might do is go to select and mask, and we'll get rid of that part right there as well. So let's choose refine brush tool, and let's just hide all of this. There we go. And again, we might have to do some manual adjustments here. So we definitely need to do some manual adjustments there. So click on OK. And let's so let's press so actually I'm not going to press Alt and get the black background. I'm actually going to leave it as it is. So make sure you have this box selected, and then now if you just choose a brush tool, and if you just make the brush a little bit smaller, and what I'm going to do is choose a white color to reveal. So I want to reveal her fingers right here, or her arms, and so all of this looks pretty good. And also let's just make this a little bit bigger, and this little strap right here, that should be revealed. So I think that looks pretty good there. And also let's just kind of reveal parts of her hair. You can just kind of make the brush really small, just kind of draw in some bits of hair right here. So you're kind of cheating there a little bit, but as long as it kind of creates the illusion of some hair, then it doesn't really matter. So select and masks works really well depending on the type of image that you're working with. So this image was quite different to the previous two fish images, so you have to kind of make some manual adjustments here and there to really make it work. So now we're done cropping out all of the image. So we got this, and it kind of nicely blends into the background, all of the edges right here. We've got the fish image. Now we're ready to start clipping them all together and then adjusting the lighting. So now let's start resizing all of the image so it fits into the forest. But before we actually do that, what I usually like to do is to keep the original images. So if we make a mistake in resizing these images, we can just go back to the original. So we're going to group all of these layers together. So click the layer right at the top, which is fish 2. Press and hold shift and click the layer right at the bottom, which is forest. But we're not going to click on the background image, just the normal images right here. And then press Ctrl G or Command G, and it'll group all of the images together. So now we've got this little group right here, and I'll just rename this to original images. And now we can create another copy of this group by simply grabbing it and dragging it into the new layer icon right here. So now we have original images copy. So now we can hide the original images. So I just want the copies right here. So now if we make a mistake, we can just go back to the original image and just take one of the images from here. So let's resize the woman with the camera first. So I want her to be leaning against this tree right here. So let's click on this image and let's resize it. Let's resize it to about that much there, or maybe even a little bit smaller. And I'm not worried about this bottom part now. We're going to crop all of those out later on. So she should be kind of leaning up against that tree or something like that and taking a photo over here. So let's put that right here and hit enter. So I think that looks good there. Next, let's go to this image and let's resize this. And I want this fish to be kind of wrapping around this tree right here. So let's resize it by pressing Ctrl T or Command T if you're on a Mac. And let's put it just about there. It doesn't really matter too much if it kind of goes out of the image. You can make it a little bit smaller, but I don't want it to be too small. So I think just about there looks pretty good. And we can resize it again later on if we want to. And then the next image, let's resize that as well by pressing Ctrl T. And I want this to be in the back, so it's going to be a lot smaller. So maybe it's going to be wrapping around this tree right here, or maybe it's going to be wrapping around at the top right here. So I think that looks good there, but we can adjust it later on. So now it's all kind of nicely placed, but now we just need to crop it out properly so it actually wraps around this tree. And also we need to change up the lighting and also make the grass is going to grow over her legs right here. So we kind of need to do some color adjustments and a bit more cropping as well now. So let's crop this image so it actually looks like it's kind of wrapping around this tree right here. So to do that, I'm going to lower the opacity right here at the top in the layers panel, just so that we can actually see the tree behind it. So I think it looks just it doesn't really matter what number it is. So I've lowered it down to 79%, but as long as you can actually see the tree and the fish clearly, then it's good enough. So now what we're going to do is just crop out the tree right here. So we're just going to create an outline around that tree. So I might lower the opacity just a bit more so we can see it at the top as well. There we go. And I'm going to choose the pen tool. Pen tool should be right here. So this is the pen tool, and what we're going to do is just draw an outline around that tree. And usually I would zoom in a lot further to actually get it really accurate, but just to keep this video quick, I'm just kind of doing it kind of rough. So usually I would zoom in about like this much, and I would kind of get into those edges nicely as well. So just to keep this video quick, I'm not making it too detailed, but you kind of get the point there. So let's crop it all the way to the top. You don't have to go all the way to the top, just up to where that tail is. So just about roughly around there. Then let's come back down to this part as well. And I'm going to go all the way down to about where the body of the fish is. So let's go down here. And around these curves, make sure you actually get those curves right, because if you spread it out too much, then it's going to be like a straight line. So you need to kind of make sure it's kind of close enough so you can actually get those curves right. So let's go all the way around. Oh, actually I missed this little tail part, this fin right here as well, so I need to get that part right, but we'll do that later on. So that's actually a nice trick that we can do to get that right. So we got this part of the tree now. So now what you do is just right click inside that selection and click on make selection and hit OK. So now we have this selection of that tree. So now we go back and click on the masking box right here. So that's the original masking box that we created. And what I want to do is hide the part of the fish. So behind this fish is the tree. So I need to hide the fish to reveal the tree. So we're going to choose a black color to hide. Make sure you have the masking box selected. And I'm also going to choose a bigger brush. So let's just make the brush a bit bigger. And I'm simply just going to paint over it. So let's paint over around here. So now I'll deselect it and I'll zoom out and let's see what this looks like. Let's also up the opacity. So I think that looks pretty good. Also, obviously we need to reveal this part as well, but I think that looks pretty good so far. Maybe we need to reveal a bit more around there, but we'll do that later on. So let's also reveal this part as well. So I'm gonna lower the opacity. We just need to reveal all of this right here as well. So just like before, just need to zoom in as much as you can and get those edges nicely selected. So let's go all the way up here. And let's go down. So that looks good. So now click on make selection. And let's choose a black color and just hide all of this right here. So now let's zoom out. So this would probably look much better now. So let's up the opacity. So already we've kind of got a nice looking effect there. So let's zoom in a bit more. So we need to get that fin back. So for this, what I'm going to do is actually choose a slight gray color. So I don't want to fully reveal it, but I do want to slightly reveal it. So I'm going to choose a gray color about there, and we'll see what that looks like. And let's also make the brush a bit smaller. And let's just reveal it. Oops. Let's just reveal it around here. So it's not revealing enough. So I need to make it a bit more, quite a bit more lighter. So let's make it, oops, I think I made a little mistake there. There we go. So now let's reveal the fin. So it doesn't look too bad. So maybe we need a bit more white there. So I think I made a mistake right here. So let's hide all of this. And also I'm going to make the hardness of the brush to be 0%. So it's a bit more feathered. So I'm not fully revealing it. I'm only slightly revealing it. And you can even see the tree behind it just a little bit. Because that fin is slightly has a kind of a opacity right there. So let's also fix this little edge right here. So it looks good. And also I might just make it slightly a bit more, just kind of those little edges around there. So I think that actually looks a bit better now. So you can actually kind of see right through the fin. So because it's not completely revealed, right? So now let's zoom out. So that looks really good now. So it's kind of nicely zooming, kind of wrapping around it. So I just want to see what's going on here. So I think this little fin part, we could get this to kind of wrap around the tree, but I think that might be a bit too much. But let's just hide this part of the fish right here. I think we might have made a mistake there. So I'm going to choose a black color, and I'm going to choose the paintbrush again. I'm just going to reveal this tree. Just looked a bit awkward there. There we go. So make any minor adjustments that you have to do. But even though it's kind of like, kind of just doing this outline quite rough, it still looks quite good. So it's not that bad at all. So now let's do the same thing to this fish right here. Now try to do this by yourself. Feel free to pause this video and go back into Photoshop and try doing this part of the fish by yourself and see how you go. So I'm gonna pause this. Pause this and speed up the video. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to lower the opacity, reveal the fish, reveal the tree in the background, and just crop it out. So right here on these edges right here, let's say you can't really be bothered cropping all of this out perfectly with the pen tool. You can just simply use the brush tool as well. So let's I'm just going to make the hardness about, let's just say 65%, and I'm just going to simply paint it out like this. So that kind of leaves like a nice edge right there instead of like a really sharp edge. Maybe I need to increase the hardness just a little bit more. There we go. So I think that's much better. And let's do that as well to the bottom. And at the top as well. So now let's zoom out and see what that looks like. And I'm going to increase the opacity. That looks really good. So now one more, actually, there is this one little edge right here which we need to fix because it might be a little picky, but that edge just looks a bit too white right there. So what we need to do is just kind of reveal a bit more of the fish right here. So I'm going to choose a white color to reveal a bit more of the fish, and also make the brush a lot smaller and just kind of paint over that edge right there. Because when I zoomed out, you can clearly see that white line. So this is how you kind of get into those details and just make it look really crisp and really sharp. And if you're working on like a bigger project, then you definitely need some attention to detail like this. Okay, so I think that looks good so far. Yep. So let's zoom out. So I think that looks better now. So now let's do the woman here. So this already looks pretty good because before she was kind of leaning on a tree as well, and she's leaning on a tree again because I think right here, this is what it looked like before. Now this is what it looks like now. So what I might do is actually resize this a bit more because I think the scale is a bit off. So let's resize it to about that much and hit enter. So I'm going to zoom out here. See if she still looks good, and maybe let's push her up just a bit more so it actually kind of looks, the angle's kind of right. Maybe we can even flip it. No, probably not a good idea to flip it. Maybe I'll just leave it there. Yep, so that looks good there, but we need to fix these kind of legs right here. So what I'll do for this one is I'll lower the opacity, but we're not going to get into every single grass here one by one. We're just going to slightly kind of reveal parts of the grass, and then we'll kind of just roughly draw it in. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to make the brush a little bit bigger, so not that big, just about this size right here. And I'm going to choose a black color to hide, and I'm just going to kind of draw these kind of grasses in right here. Now all I want to do is make sure that kind of straight line kind of disappears, so it doesn't look like a cropped out image there. It actually looks like she's kind of standing in the grass. So not sure how this will come out, but let's just wait and see. So we'll also kind of draw it above here at the top, kind of make the brushes bigger, smaller, have like different sized grasses here and there. Make sure all of these kind of go over her legs here and there. And just make sure we kind of get rid of that straight line. because we don't want any kind of straight looking lines in this nature type of photographs, because then it just looks unnatural. So let's zoom out and let's up the opacity. So I think it looks much better now. It looks like she's actually standing in the grass, and it looks like she's actually taking the photo. So I'll just create an extra copy of this and hide the other copy. And I just want to make it a bit smaller and see if it actually looks better that way. Yeah, I actually think it looks better with this size here, because it kind of blends in with the grass and all of that. Maybe even a little bit bigger. Let's try that. So with when she's a bit bigger, the grass kind of doesn't, you know, look right. So I'm gonna undo that and she'll leave it at that size there. So all of this looks really good now. So all we need to do now is just kind of adjust the lighting, adjust the color balances, so the photo just kind of blends in. Because right now it clearly looks like it's some cut out pictures from different types of lighting, different types of images, and it's all put together. Now, but we can kind of blend it all together with color balance. So now let's start adjusting the colors and the lighting. So let's start with the lighting first. So in the description below, I've got this website called brusheasy.com. So this is a great website to download free Photoshop brushes. So you can download moon brushes, there's templates, symbols, textures. So I've got this in the description below, which is a sunshine brush. So to install it, all you do is just click on the link in the description, click on free download, and it will count down from 5 right here just to show some ads. And you should get a zip folder. So you need a software like WinRAR or something else that can open up a zip folder, and open up the zip folder and just double click on this right here, and you'll have a brush installed. So now if you go to your brushes and you go to your brush types right here, and if you scroll down all the way to the bottom, you should see some new brushes. So these are some new sunshine brushes. So what I'm going to do is create a new layer above the forest layer, and I'll just call this sunshine. So we're going to add some sunshines there. And I'm going to choose a white color. And let's choose one of these brushes, one of these sunshine brushes. So maybe it could be this one. Actually, I'll try something a bit more simple. That might be a bit too big, so you can actually make it bigger as well. So it just shows you the outline of the brush depending on the size of the brush that you've chosen. So maybe about this size. So all I'm going to do is just click, and actually that looks pretty good. So I actually like that there. So let's kind of move it up a little bit so it kind of gets that edge right there at the top. Yep, that looks good. And what I'm going to do is also create an extra copy of this and put this one at the top. Right at the top above the fish and everything, so it kind of goes under and over the fish. So let's lower the opacity on this just a little bit. So before it looked like this, and once you just add some sunshine, really nicely kind of blends in. And you can choose any of the sunshine rays from this brush that you want. So there's many different options right here. Just play around with it and see which one you like best. So I think I like it kind of coming from the top to bottom, but we do need to fix it right here at the bottom because it's got like a straight line there. So what we can do is just create a masking tool right here, choose a black color to hide, and also I'm just going to choose a normal brush, just decrease the hardness, just kind of get rid of those rough edges around here. So we need to we can't really see it going down right now because we have 2 layers of it. One is the top and one is the bottom. So let's just get rid of it on this one, go down to this one, choose another layer mask box, and get rid of it here as well. So there we go. So that looks much better. And also I might get rid of it around the tree as well, so that doesn't look good around the tree. And let me just do that properly. So maybe just around the top, around here, and also around here. And I'm again kind of doing this quite rough and just kind of freehand. Usually I would do it much more detailed and pay attention to way more detail, but just to keep this video quick, I'm just kind of showing you guys how it's done. And there we go. So it looks much better now around that tree. So that looks good. So now we've got this image group right here. So this is all of the images together. So I'm going to create another layer on top. So I don't want this to be inside this group. I want this layer to be on top of the group right here. And now And I'll just, you don't really need to name this one. I'm just going to leave it as it is. And then go down to this tool right here. It's like a little half circle kind of a icon. And I'm going to choose color balance right here. And in the color balance, you need to kind of play around with it. Do you need to decrease the greens? Do you need to increase the reds? What do you need to do to kind of balance this image out? So there's a lot of red right here. So maybe you need to kind of reduce the reds down. So I'm going to push the reds down a bit here. So you can see kind of like whatever is more red. So it's more red, so I'm here, so I'm pushing it back down this way. It's more red here, so I'm pushing it back here. But let's just say what it's like when you increase the reds as well. So maybe it kind of blends in with the fish. So that also looks pretty good as well. Yep, so I think that looks pretty good there as well. Yep, so that's looking really nice now. So you need to kind of play around with these bars right here to get the exact effect that you're looking for. But we're not done there just yet. We can also do some other things. So there's many different options here. You can play around with the curves. So right here, curves. So if I increase the curve right here, it's going to make it brighter. If I decrease it here, it's going to make it darker. So it's kind of like playing with the brightness and contrast. So just about there looks pretty good, but it's probably a bit too bright. So I'm going to push that down a little bit because I do want people to be able to see the background a bit more. So that looks good. Let's also play around with the brightness and contrast. And you should actually try out all of these right here. Try some different effects. Some of the effects won't work well at all, like threshold or posterize. Those are not really what you're looking for. It's these ones here at the top that you really want. But play around with all of them so you can actually get familiar with them. I'm just showing you the ones that I use the most. So let's play with brightness and contrast. So let's increase the brightness a little bit and decrease it over here. Yeah, that looks good. Now this is one of my favorite ones called selective color right here at the bottom. So let's say you want to change the color of the fish to another color. All I would do is just choose reds right here. And it's going to look through this image and find all the reds. And you can just change it to like a bright red. You can change it to a yellow like this. And you can change it to any other color that you want that it lets you change it to. So this is, I sometimes use this, sometimes it's, I use more if like, let's cut, I think right now the red kind of jumps out a bit too much. So now you can kind of actually use it to kind of reduce the red. So there we go, maybe around here is pretty good. And maybe about there. Yep, so I like it over there. And now we can play around with this a bit more, but there's another thing we can do. So click on it again and choose solid color here at the top. And I'm going to choose a random color. So it could be like let's just choose like a greenish color like this. It doesn't really matter for now. And then I'm going to choose color right here under layer effect. And then decrease the opacity. I'm going to decrease it down quite a bit. So what this does is it just kind of helps kind of blend in the entire image together. So it adds in a bit more greens around that red because it's just a bit too red. I do want the greens to kind of blend in with the reds. So it kind of adds in a little bit more there. But let's say you don't like the greens. You can just double click on this, maybe change it to another color. Maybe it could be like a bluish color, a pinkish color. You can see how it changes right there. And maybe even like a black and white kind of grayish color. So I'm going to just leave it at greens because I think it looks pretty good there. Maybe a darker green or something like this. So that looks quite good now. So I think I like it there.